observations. Number one is the independence of the judiciary. No doubt whatsoever. We know for sure in Kenya it is under attack and it must be protected. She must also guard the supremacy of the Constitution, because we have seen several persons trying to claw back on the gains we have made under the 2010 Constitution. And she's going to be ranked, because Kenyans have ranked former Chief Justice Mutunga, they have ranked former Chief Justice Maraga. She is now on the ranking list, and we will be looking upon her to ensure that this Constitution is not mutilated, it is not violated, and it's not raped. It's a Constitution that must be safeguarded. She will also have to guard and protect the rule of law in the country, the dignity of the courts, because we have seen court orders being disobeyed left, right, and center. Sincerely, no country, a democracy that purports to be under the rule of law would ever work with the disobedience of court orders. Lady Justice Mother Koome, Kenyans are watching you. They are saying we must be protected. And finally, she must enforce the law to the letter. No question of it in any other way. Just like that little boy outside our courts carrying a fish who is naked. Justice is nothing but the naked truth. We are looking upon the new Chief Justice to deliver. I support.
Professor Oduor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I'd like to thank the committee and to also indeed acknowledge that not only listening to what they indicated and what is in the report, I take this opportunity to indicate my support, Honorable Speaker, because we stand at a historic moment in our country, Honorable Speaker. We are aware that the Honorable Lady Justice would be the third Chief Justice in our country. And Honorable Speaker, I would like, as I support, to indicate that what is coming out clearly, Honorable Speaker, is that we find that leadership, whether it is at the judiciary or any other area, is gender neutral. It seeks to look at competence. We seek to look for a foundation that would take our country to the level that we would like. And so, Honorable Speaker, as I support the committee and indeed confirm that the Honorable Lady Chief Justice Martha Koome is suitable, I do it by looking really at the question that what we are looking at is a historic moment from the point of view that we do have a lady that would be coming in for the first time. But Honorable Speaker, I use it to celebrate the demonstration that leadership, that competence, that indeed what it is that we need to help us sustain the forward-looking significant progress that we have seen in the judiciary will indeed be fulfilled. Honorable Speaker, I conclude by saying that it has also been said that women and men do lead differently. And I know the Honorable and my senior, T.J. Kajwang, did indicate that the other gender will be watching. I conclude by indicating that there is a difference in terms of the way women and men lead. And the women, Honorable Speaker, it has been proven, tend to listen a lot more. They tend to engage, and they tend to be much more ready to negotiate and to ensure that everybody is taken on board. And so I am glad that as we look at the fear that sometimes we have of excesses, we shall find in the Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome opportunity for interdependence, opportunity for negotiation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
You actually did it in exactly 2.5 minutes. Honorable Maure, maybe that is to tell us actually how you would be leading.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also support the nominee, the Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, to be the next Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. And as the country is celebrating the breaking of the glass ceiling by a woman, the Meru community as well, we are being taught a lesson that since independence, there is no time the Merus have gone to a ballot box in a general election and actually elected a woman. Now, this will be an eye-opener in the sense that when the lady Justice Koome showed up for nomination at the JSC, nobody saw a woman. What people saw was a serious judge whose temperament, when you looked at her, you couldn't be able to discern anything that you would describe as feminine, anything that you would belittle because she is a woman, but you saw a very firm answers from her. And Mr. Speaker, from those of us who are familiar with the conduct of judges, a judge, you are not supposed to read the mood of a judge. You are not supposed to predict the decision a judge will make, because that one is only left to those people we usually call the judicial activists. And Mr. Speaker, in judicial activism, what they do is they legislate from the bench. From where they are seated, they would be able to pass laws which have not been taken to them for interpretation. So, Mr. Speaker, our judiciary is under its own attack. It needs to cleanse itself, and it needs to have an administrator. Even though we are asking for their independence, they need to have a thorough searching of the judiciary. So, Mr. Speaker, what we need, the judges that we are supporting to lead a separate arm of government, the independence is not absolute. It's supposed to be controlled within that judiciary so that we don't have issues that can come out and expose the activism in that judiciary. So, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the integrity, the wisdom that has been displayed by this nominee, and also say that in our area of Mount Kenya East, at the national leadership now, we are really represented. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Paris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I stand here as a duly elected woman leader, and I want to say that I am proud of the fact that one of the arms of government, the judiciary, will soon be headed by a woman. It is no mean feat. I mean, at the end of the day, we have strived as women to get our space in society, in political space, in private practice spaces, as well as just knowing that when you look at us, we cannot deny the fact that we're women. And we want to have our space knowing that we actually are 50% of the population. Martha Koome, Lady Justice Martha Koome, is a woman. And let us not shy away from embracing her as a woman and saying that today we are proud that we have her as the nominee for Chief Justice. And the reason I say that is because I see a lot of the men, when they're standing up to speak, they're trying to say she's just a good leader. Yes, she's an amazing leader. But we cannot stop underlining the fact that she is a woman. And we have to celebrate that, not just for her, but for the many women in this country, the girl child, and the women that aspire to be leaders. What I like about Martha Koome, because I've actually been to a few of the forums that she held when she was heading the task force for children, is the fact that she's very humble, extremely humble. She has integrity, she is grounded, she's compassionate. I recall an interview where she said, "Children have no voices, so I choose to speak for them. They are our bridge to the future, and unless we nurture them, our future will be precarious." We're going to have a Chief Justice that understands that if we want to steer this country in the right direction, then we have to start from the formative stages, and that is from the children. She understood that justice for children in our courts needed more to be done. She understands that if we nurture our children well, then everything else that we want to do in this country going forward will be easier met and done. Because today we look at our youth and how easily they are used and misused and abused by leaders. If we want to stop that, then we nurture the child from a young age. And I know that with Lady Justice Koome in the helm of the judiciary, our children will be nurtured in a manner that will actually ground them to be future leaders and to embrace this country's prosperity and growth. Lady Justice Koome, for me, is a woman that understands that this country right now has had a lot of issues in terms of corruption. And she understands that corruption exists in the system, corruption exists in the judiciary. And that is one area that I know that if she tackles it, she will tackle it well. Lady Justice Koome is going to be heading the judiciary at a time when the judiciary is being looked at and lots of questions are rising. Whether the judgment that was done was right or wrong. At the end of the day, I know that she will sit there and do the right thing. She's not going to be owned by this group or that group. She's an independent thinker. She's an independent mind, a strong woman, and she will do what is right for this country because she's a human rights defender. She has always been. And her 33 years of experience will ensure that whatever she does in that seat will be for the betterment and the best for this country. I support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, in order to save time for members, I will read 5 names, and then you will simply be going, we will be getting your mic as soon as the other colleague finishes. So, Honorable Duale, Honorable Shamala, Honorable Mutai, Honorable Wangwe, if you want to speak at that point, Honorable Mwamkale Kanoti. Those are 5. So let's start in that manner.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the report of the committee on the vetting of the nominee for the position of Chief Justice. Honorable Speaker, the nominee in question is one who is known for her vast experience in the legal profession, brilliance and acumen in her career as a judicial officer. And now she joins, she now goes to the books of history of this country as having been the first female Chief Justice. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to professionalism, capacity, ability, and experience as required by the Public Appointment and Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, there is no one who can object that the nominee ticks and fits in the box very well. However, Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that the job of a Chief Justice is not just that requires one to fit the box or to tick the box. It is one which calls for one to abide by the dictates of Article 159 of the Constitution on judicial authority. And Mr. Speaker, judicial authority is the dictate of Article 159, and it's derived from the people. So judicial authority in this sense, we expect Honorable Lady Justice Koome to drive that authority from the people of Kenya. The citizens of our country are therefore the real employers of Chief Justice Mother Koome, if she gets a job. I do hope, Mr. Speaker, and I had the privilege to sit in this chamber when a man I have a lot of respect for, Dr. William Mutunga, was brought to this house. I had been here when David Maraga, a man also I have a lot of respect for, and now under the new constitution, Lady Justice Koome. In executing her duties, she must be, and at all times, fidelity to the law and the people of Kenya, and that is what should guide her. It is not the executive, it's not this house, or indeed any other public body that should move her. It is her duty to the people of Kenya. It's her duty to uphold in accordance with Article 159. Honorable Speaker, the reason I raise this matter is because concerns against this nominee were raised by the Law Society of Kenya on what was termed as misapprehension or skating around the concern of our acting on the direction of the executive, a fact that was evident. Honorable Speaker, this is a very serious matter, and I actually do hope that the nominee shall not be on the beck and call of the executive, and also is ready to do whatever she is told to do. Do judicial authority be exercised under the guidance of any other arm of government? Mr. Speaker, the principle set out in 159.3, which includes justice shall be done to all, irrespective. Jefferson said, on matters of style, swim with the current. On matters of principle, stand like a rock, like Justice Odunga, Justice Joel, Justice Madeka, Justice Chacha Mwita, and Justice Nga. And this House must respect the judiciary. As a minority, when the rubber hits the road, the people who will save this country, the people who will follow the Constitution as both in spirit and letter, is the arm of the judiciary. Independence of the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, she is not from Meru. She is not from Mount Kenya East. She is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. And I hope she will follow what Honorable Willie Mutunga stood for, what Honorable Justice David Maraga stood for, and we are watching her as the people of Kenya.
Thank you. You nowadays quote too much of these very serious philosophers. Proceed, Honorable Mutai.
My sister Shamala can go ahead.
Actually, in that order, yes, I'm sorry.
Actually, that order, I'm
yes,
not
yes,
jumping.
Yes, you are right.
Yes. Thank
You are
you.
right.
The second issue that stood out for me was the unpackaging of the role as of the Chief Justice, if she was to be approved by this House. Mr. Speaker, sir, Lady Justice Martha Koome believes that the Constitution of Kenya, amongst other things, must be people-centered in terms of delivery. And on this note, I want to talk about the issue of delivery in the context of corruption. Corruption is discussed within the legislature, corruption is discussed and recognized in the executive, but not in the judiciary. I pray Koome be approved by this House, that she will indeed address the issue of corruption in the judiciary, because we must call it as it is, and we recognize that even the judiciary has its cartels. It is not just in the executive or in the legislature. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other amazing thing about this Lady Justice Martha Koome was, and I cannot let that go, there were concerns about Article 2.5 of the Constitution of Kenya, which states that the general rules of international law shall form part and parcel of our national laws. And a question was brought up from a member of the committee on the issue of norms that may not be in accordance with the family values that we espouse as Kenyans. And Lady Justice Martha Koome was categorical, and she stated that she would uphold the value systems of this country, where we recognize a man, a woman, and a man, and that she would incorporate indigenous knowledge systems in developing our jurisdictions. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I do support.
For us, so let's have the member for Buret. You did.
I always do, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise in support of the report, Mr. Speaker, on the approval of Martha Koome as a Chief Justice. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I want to state that this is a lady and a Kenyan who fits the bill. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, she complies with all the requirements of the law. Article 166, sub-article 2 and 3, sets out the qualification of a Chief Justice, Mr. Speaker. And on that regard, she qualifies. Is a lady who has over 33 years experience in the legal profession, 15 years in the bench. She has intellectual capacity. She has the sound legal judgment. Mr. Speaker, this is a lady who has done a lot of work in creating legal jurisprudence. And one in mind, Mr. Speaker, which the committee observed, was in one civil appeal case of 309 of 2015, where I served with Justice Nambuye and Sichale, rendered a decision, Mr. Speaker, that created what is the current now vicarious liability on TSC, that TSC cannot run away from their responsibility to create a safe learning environment for our children against defilement or violence. Mr. Speaker, this is a lady who is committed to ensuring that Kenya moves forward and goes on the right direction. I was also touched, Mr. Speaker, on her conduct and demeanor where she was faced with memorandum that were against her. She did not shy away from facing that and setting the record straight, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I must commend her and laud her on one issue that stands out. Currently, Mr. Speaker, there is an issue of the BBI decision by the High Court, and there is an appeal. When she appeared before the committee, Mr. Speaker, she was clear in her thought and mind that criticisms against judges has the net effect of lowering the dignity of the court. And that is the reason there are appellate courts in our judicial system. Mr. Speaker, that was a statement, and I'm proud of this lady. Our colleague here, Rebo Mili, knows this is one of the ladies that did marvelous work when she was at FIDA. At one point, she was the chairperson of FIDA. It's at that time, Mr. Speaker, when us men were jittery when we heard the word FIDA. But she did not do things against this. Instead, she was very fair. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, in Justice Mother Koome, we have a safe pair of hands that will take Kenya to the next level. Thank you.
Okay, so Honorable Mwamkale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for according me time to contribute to this. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of this committee, and I had an opportunity of hearing Lady Justice Koome presenting herself to this committee. Mr. Speaker, I do rise to for approval of this report. When she appeared before our committee, Lady Justice Koome confirmed to the committee that she was going to be guided by the Constitution of Kenya, and she will not take instructions from any other place other than the Constitution of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it also came out in her vision that she would protect the rights of citizens as enshrined in Chapter 4 of the 2010 Constitution. And she did inform us that she was part and parcel of this chapter. She played a big role when she was at FIDA, and that she would defend the Constitution at all costs. However, Mr. Speaker, it is, as it has been mentioned, when questions were put to her, she confirmed to the Republic that she believes that judges are not saints. She said it clearly that judges are not saints. They sometimes misinterpret the law, and that when law is misinterpreted, it is normally addressed in the appeals. She said she believed that any wrongdoing of a judge can be rectified in an appeal. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a lady who has her vision well cut. Mr. Speaker, by approving the appointment of Lady Justice Koome, we will be taking, as a country, we will be taking the gender principle at the higher level, because it will not only be effected in the National Assembly or wherever else, but at the three arms of government. For once, we will have one arm of the government being led by a lady. And I think as a republic, we will have put our face in the global map as far as gender principle is concerned. So, Mr. Speaker, I do urge the House to approve this lady, because even the way she committed herself to relate well, she is going to even unlock the impasse of the 41 judges who have been on the waiting list.
Okay, Honorable Rema. And by the way, you seem to be having a problem with your mic, so you might have to come here in front. Oh yes, you are okay now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also add my voice. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, I rise with a lot of pride and honor to support the nomination of a very accomplished lady judge, a woman, a mother, and a woman we are all so proud of. Mr. Speaker, for the time she was being vetted both by GSC and Parliamentary GLA Committee, I took a lot of time to follow the interview. One of the reasons why I'm supporting, besides being a woman, is because of how she really performed in the interview. Therefore, I want to thank both the JLAC and the GSC Commission for doing an excellent job. Mr. Speaker, all through, she was composed, focused, and really understood the subject matter. Mr. Speaker, she is indeed a breath of fresh air in the leadership of judiciary. Mr. Speaker, I had an opportunity to do a lot of research on her because I really wanted to be sure of the person we are getting to this very important institution, which so happened to be the hope of the ordinary citizen. Mr. Speaker, I came across a lot of good achievements. Besides heading the women movement, her record on children and gender rights, as well as her role in drafting Kenya's 2010 Constitution, in particular the Bill of Rights, stood out. Mr. Speaker, last year, Justice Koome was a runner-up for the UN's Kenyan's Person of the Year Award for her advocacy on the rights of children. Mr. Speaker, she is also a non-firebrand reformer, for she was amongst the lawyers involved in the clamor in the 1980s to repeal Section 2. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we are looking to her, and we hope she will uphold the integrity and the independence of judiciary. Thank you, sir.
So let's have Olago watch, and then I come to the leader of majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's a matter that I want the House to notice. How committees of this House can draw the line between vetting and interviewing. Mr. Speaker, it's important, and I'm proud I'm a member of this committee, because the way we did it is what Honorable T.J. Kajwang told you, that other committees of this House need to see how we did it and draw the line. That's number one. Number two, Justice Martha Koome's professional and career exposure couldn't have made her a better person to be our Chief Justice. And a member of this House has just mentioned it. Mr. Speaker, in the heady days of the 90s, not the 80s, as she said, 90s, I had the chance to work with Justice Martha Koome in the Council of the LSK. At a time when we were fighting for multi-party democracy in Kenya, at a time that a lawyer who risked doing that would be risking his or her practice or even personal safety and security. Mr. Speaker, in the LS Council then, we had distinguished lawyers. There was Justice GBM Karaoke, the Dr. Mirugi Karaoke, Rachel Mamo, Martha Karua, Zamba Kitonga, and Kamau Kuria. Mr. Speaker, we were able to get through our agenda and we became the darling of the Kenyans. In my view, that puts Justice Karua in a better state to understand the needs of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, after the collapse of the East African community, Kenyans in the LSK Council then, including myself, traveled in Uganda, Tanganyika, and Zanzibar to form what is now called the East African Law Society. We were able to do this together with Justice Koome and the others, and finally, a treaty was signed by our presidents that created what is now called the East African Community. Mr. Speaker, there's a matter that we cannot afford to take under the carpet anymore, and Kenyans are concerned. We are going to approve Justice Martha Koome as the next Chief Justice of this country, but the fact that when that is done, we are going to end up with a situation where the head of the judiciary, the head of the legislature, and the head of the executive are known as the mountain. Mr. Speaker, that's a matter that I raised in the committee. But I'm satisfied that Justice Martha Koome was able to convince us that the fact that she comes from the mountain should not be a worry for Kenyans. And personally, I'm satisfied that Justice Martha Koome will be our next Chief Justice. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you, Leader Majority. Then I'll give a few members. I can see you're almost completing it.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity to support this motion and to thank the committee for a splendid job. As the last speaker has just said, I think it's probably one of the best practices in terms of how to vet officers, as opposed to grilling and attempting to redo the interview. And I think this is just highlighting the issues and clarifying for purposes of this public participation. The Swahili have a saying, if I allow me to quote, chema cha jiuza, kibaya cha jitembeza. And from what you can hear, Honorable Speaker, is the gracious lady with her 33 years of experience, spanning all disciplines, from family law, private practice, pro bono acts, environment, in the High Court, Court of Appeal. It's cross-cutting that she has managed to sell herself to the Kenyan people and to the committee. And hence, what we are basically doing here is repeating ourselves in just increasing the accolades. And we believe she will do a good job. She has promised. I just want to take on 2 commitments that she has made to the committee and to Kenyans through this House. And that's about leaving her true to her calling as a Chief Justice, as a jurist, in terms of independence, non-partisanship, and non-political stance, and also in the support to the war against graft. Because the war against graft, it's not limited to the executive. It goes across all institutions. And if you allow the war on graft at the judiciary, it does not matter who the head is. Nobody will ever get justice. So if it starts there and then cuts across all the institutions, then people will know that it's very expensive to get yourself involved in corruption. I think the other thing I'm happy about is her commitment for non-interference with other institutions, with the other arms of government. Honorable Speaker, you are aware we have been gagged here before. We've been told we cannot process bills. And last year we spent a lot of time because we had been told we cannot do bills. Even some bills that we had passed, like an appropriation bill, a supplementary bill, were being told they are illegal, which is obviously something that cannot be enforced because you tell people to return the money that was spent on an appropriation bill. So it's some excesses that were made. And I do hope that she will bring some order to the judiciary from that perspective. And if I remove these things of telling Parliament that you cannot pass something, or you must pass something in a certain way, which is what I saw in the ruling that was done last week, kind of trying to even define how we should do the referendum law. Yet, we are not supposed to be receiving that kind of situation. Honorable Speaker, the founders of this doctrine of checks and balances, particularly James Madison, was very clear. It's not about having checks and balances, it's ensuring that of the arms of government, there will be adequate checks to ensure none of those arms is so strong to stifle the others from making decision or operation. So it's not just about creating checks and all those things, but it's like there should be checks within the law and within the institution so that the executive does not muzzle the judiciary, which we could do by refusing to give money, or Parliament does not muzzle the judiciary on executive, which we could do by refusing to give them money. And similarly, they cannot muzzle us by telling us there are things we can do, or by rendering every law coming from Parliament to be unconstitutional, even on very flimsy ground. I think those are the kind of things that we need to get some sober-minded person, and I hope that Lady Justice Mother Koome would take it as part of continuing the reform that was started by Justice Mutunga, the reforms by Justice Maraga, and now consolidated for the common good, so that it's not people just trying to get even, revisiting one another, but now looking at the Kenyan people and where the judiciary should be, not just for Kenya, but for the region, because the whole region is probably also looking at us, and I believe that we can learn from others and teach others in terms of the protection for human rights and political rights, as well as the economic rights of our people. Honorable Speaker, like I said, I want to congratulate Honorable Mother Koome for, first of all, being the first nominee of the female gender coming for this position, and to wish her the very best. And to just say that we can only wish her well. It's a very tumultuous time, lots of challenges, but we also believe that the 33 years of her experience should count for something in terms of sorting out the issues in the judiciary and giving the judiciary a face, giving the judiciary, the people the confidence that they can have faith in the judiciary. So we don't go politically next year into the same issues we had in the past, when people lacking faith in the judiciary ended up looking for judiciary for justice on parallel systems. And I believe, Honorable Speaker, that we provide her with our support from a House as she does that exercise. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support.
Okay, Honorable Ishungwa, and then followed by Honorable Millie Odhiambo. But what is it, Honorable Keter?
Thank you.
Just a minute, what is it? Honorable Keter, what is it? What is your point of order, Honorable Keter?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on standing order number 95-1.
Just proceed, Honorable Keter. Order members, Honorable Keter has the floor.
That may the mover be called to reply.
Okay, I've heard you. Now, honorable members, this is how we'll proceed. I had mentioned that I'm giving Honorable Ishungwa, you will speak. Then Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Then I'll put the question on that particular bit. If it is acceptable, that is fine. If it is not, it is you to make decision. And by the way, honorable members, sometimes honorable members just walk in and they want to be heard. Yeah? So let's wait. Honorable Ishungwa, without digressing, just speak to this matter. You have.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, a lot of accolades have been spoken of the CJ nominee, Lady Justice Mother Koome. And I want to join other members and Kenyans in congratulating her on her nomination and her selection by the JSC to serve as the first Lady Justice as Chief Justice in the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, with all the accolades also, We did see petitions from the President of the Law Society of Kenya, a petition that touched on a matter that relates to one of us here, the Erad Supplies Company, that was presided over by Justice Mother Koome. And there's also, of course, the sticky matter of the night ruling of the Court of Appeal in 2017, Honorable Speaker. And these are issues, Honorable Speaker, that may put question to her standing as a judicial officer. But I want to believe that the committee and the JSC considered all those matters and made an informed decision as they settled on Lady Justice Koome. Honorable Speaker, I just want to speak to Lady Justice Martha Koome and ask Honorable Speaker that it now does not matter how the JSC and how even this House settled on her and approved her position as CJ. What counts now, Honorable Speaker, is what she will do as the First Lady Chief Justice in the Republic of Kenya. Whether she will allow the accolades that have been poured on her career, her illustrious career as a judicial officer, to be her guiding light, or whether it is the small spots, be it of Erad, be it of the 2017 night ruling, Honorable Speaker, that will define her career. I want to speak to Lady Justice Mother Koome and ask her to jealously guard the independence of the judiciary. She must protect the judicial officers, Honorable Speaker, from the intimidation we have seen from the likes of Raphael Tuju of the Jubilee Party, threatening judicial officers that they may lose their security, Honorable Speaker, if they take certain decisions. Honorable Speaker, I pray that CJ nominee Martha Koome will not preside over another night sitting out of intimidation over the BBI matter or any other matters in the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. I want to speak to her and tell her that the issue of interdependence of the three arms of government, Honorable Speaker, does not mean that she or the judiciary is dependent on the executive or indeed this legislature. She must carry on her work and do the right thing in pursuit of justice, Honorable Speaker. I want to beg our Chief Justice nominee, Honorable Speaker, not only to defend the independence of the judiciary, but also to jealously defend and protect judicial officers against intimidation so that they do what is right and what serves justice to Kenyans. Let me finish, Honorable Speaker, by just asking Lady Justice Mother Koome, we do not expect you, Lady Justice, to do any favors to anybody, but just to do the right thing and serve justice to all Kenyans, irrespective of who they are, what office they hold, and dare not be intimidated by the likes of Tuju or all the other busybodies that you see trying to intimidate people in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I pray and hope that she will stand firm to defend justice and the rule of law and constitutionalism in this country.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I support the nomination of Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome. And Mr. Speaker, especially given that she's the first woman to be given this position, it is actually a tragedy that in this age and time, we are still talking of first woman this and first woman that. That is something that we should have left almost 30 years ago. And I'm hoping, Mr. Speaker, that we will not then hound the deputy out of the office because she's a woman. Because we know, if you look at this country, there are very many men for the position of legal counsel of FIDA. And Mr. Speaker, they gave me a flower after that. Of course, I got that position. And when the time came for me to leave that office, I remember she actually persuaded me and added my salary so that I could not leave. Unfortunately, my time had come. I had to leave. And when I went there, I came from a background of working as a litigation counsel, as a state counsel in the office of the Attorney General. So I had no knowledge of family law. Martha Koome was actually the expert in the entire country on issues of family law. And she taught me. She was the person I went to all the time when I wanted to understand issues of family law. And I became an expert courtesy of Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome. Very focused, very targeted, and very clear about things she stands on. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that she's also very passionate about things I'm passionate about. She's passionate about women's rights, and she's passionate about children's rights. And I've worked with her both nationally and internationally on those issues, and I can vouch for her competence. Mr. Speaker, the English say, whoever rocks the cradle rules the world. And even in the Bible, Jesus says, suffer the little ones to come unto me, and gives blessings to those who actually support children. Mr. Speaker, she discovered the secret, and she rocked the cradle, and she's ruling the world. I am the only one, Mr. Speaker, who is remaining, and I believe after Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga becomes president, I will be the first woman president after Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and I'm speaking from my mouth to God's ear. Mr. Speaker, she talked about the faith of her mother. May she continue with that faith of her mother even as she serves Kenyans. And Mr. Speaker, may it help her so that she doesn't succumb to the maladies that bedevil Kenya, issues of ethnicity and state capture. But Mr. Speaker, I want to say that even as I'm hearing people talk about independence, independence does not mean you don't criticize. I support, and Mr. Speaker, I respect some of the judges very greatly, including Honorable Joe Gugi. I respect immensely, but I disagree with them on some of the issues that they raised, especially on the issue of constitutional structure. And I will get an opportunity to talk to that from an intellectual perspective. That does not mean I do not respect. I respect, but I disagree respectfully. And I encourage others, when you disagree with them, please do so respectfully, so that we respect both the three arms of government, even when we disagree.
Okay. Honorable Sabula. No, but anyway, since
Thank you.
I want to dispense with the Honorable, anyway, finish Honorable Sabula briefly, then I dispense with the...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I also rise to support this special motion with the following facts: that Justice Martha Karua, she's a focus lady. Martha Koome, she's a focus lady.
I hope we are speaking to the same motion.
Martha Koome.
Yes, that's better.
You know, Karua is a politician like me. Martha Koome, she's a focus lady, independent-minded, solution-based. The judiciary is the center stage of resolving dispute in this country. So we need a lady with those qualities. Mr. Speaker, sir, Martha Koome has the qualities like the Tanzanian President Suluhu. She will give new impetus to the judiciary, bring in reforms, and also solve the issue of backlogs of cases. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I also request the judiciary to confirm the Chief Finance Officer, Mrs. Oyati, who has been acting for the last 6 years, while the rest of the judicial officers have been confirmed, and she's still acting in that position. Thank you, and I support.
Okay, honorable members, let me dispense with the Honorable Keteri's motion that the mover be called upon to respond. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of our contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. So the mover, please. Mover.
Yes, no, you give it the two.
Yeah. Please move. Close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm humbled, Mr. Speaker, and I have really nothing useful that I can add to the support that has been given to the motion. And the only one thing I would like to add is that I'm assured and we're assured by Justice Koome.
Sorry, mover. In the meantime, I ask that I be given the full number of members because I have to be extremely sure. I can see you are more than 50 in the House, but let me also know the ones who are in other holding areas. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I have had a minute, and the only thing I was adding is that Justice Koome has assured the committee that she will be judging judges. Judging judges. I want to array fears by Ichungwa. I don't need a answer anything, because all the matters that he raised are extraneous. Tuju is not a member of the committee. We are not considering Tuju or anybody else. If you allow me, Mr. Speaker, I could donate a minute. Very well. Very well.
It is when just to be
Very
clear,
well.
so that you don't feel that
Very-
I have.
very well.
Whenever there
Very
is a motion to cut debate, there will be no reason to donate.
Very
because
well.
Yeah.
Then there is nothing that I can usefully add more than the accolades and the sentiments that have been expressed by the members, and I thank them. I thank my committee again for the support and the efficiency within in which they handled, the efficiency with which they handled the approval of Justice Koome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Having moved, honorable members,
I support.
having confirmed, because
I
I've
reply.
confirmed that within the chamber we have 50 members, more than 50 members, and outside we have even more in other holding areas. So I'll proceed. Order, members. Order. 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 Now, honorable members, having confirmed that we have the requisite numbers, I need to put the question, which is that taking into consideration the finding of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on consideration of a nominee for appointment as Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. Let me say aye. And those of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.